Fallon. I hope they get on all the necessary plays. And like I said, I hope they drop some crumbs too, because I want to, like I said, I want to talk to them. Hey, what was the what was the atmosphere of making this movie versus certain other movies you made?
Yeah.
Because if I ever get to talk to them, if I ever get to talk to Zack Snyder, this is going to be the first time with all the DC questions I've ever had for that guy. All my questions are going to be about this, because I truly think this is going to it has the potential. Let me rephrase that. Has the potential to eclipse all of his previous work, because of it's the right time. It's a new IP. It's ripe. We've got a lot of desire for this story.
One also, it's like, as as I pointed out previously, Deborah Snyder has I think it was the Total Film interview where she said it's like, I mean, Rebel Moon is in a lot of ways, it's like it's the accumulation of his entire body work up to this point, and I think that's very evident in the trailer, where you could see little nuggets where it's like 300 or various aspects of his DC movies, or Owls of Ga'Hoole, and of course he's got influences like Seven Samurai, Star Wars, Dune. So he's taken all of that and just thrown it all just into a blender, and we've just got this incredible cocktail that we're going to be dropping down the chimney for the Christmas season this year.
Yeah, and I just want to be part of a conversation that just doesn't involve me having to put up my fist and narratively beat the fuck out of people. I don't want to, I want, we all know, and you from being on with me, we know eventually the conversation is going to go back to certain things, but as long as, for me, right, it's going to start with this. It's going to start with this. It's going to start with that. And if it drifts off to other things, that's fine, because I'm not going to run from that conversation. But at the same time, this is going to be the first time we can jump into something, and we don't have to like look across the street to make sure somebody's going to try to run us down. We can literally, for now. And like I said, eventually it'll get to the point where you have fans like, that's not my Rebel Moon, but we're not there yet. We're on level now. It's like, I'm gonna have fun with it.
It's it's going to be a really cool film, and it's coming out the right time, right before Christmas. So you got a lot of people that are at home already, just waiting to see this thing. It's obviously Sunday night they're going to have the trailer on Football Night in America. So Thursday Night Football will have the new trailer. Not to pimp myself, but I have a new video I'm dropping on on Sunday. It goes over all the characters, just kind of break that down, because there's a lot of things there's a lot of parts of this story that not everyone knows about, and so I think it's important to help tell character breakdowns and character stories about who these characters are in Rebel Moon, to help kind of build that hype. You talk about earlier, you said that that if you got the chance to talk to Zack Snyder, it fucking breaks my heart, because so for full circle, right, I was only able to go to Sunday because of I had work, and I had my niece's wedding, and there was just no way I was going to get down there, right?
Same here. I had Lloyd Kaufman.
I didn't get there at all, so
yeah.
So I only had tickets for the last day, which is Zack Snyder Justice League, which was fucking epic. But what really killed me was that I got I hate talking about this, but I got an email from what's his name? It's Zach's right hand guy.
Who's Wes Collier? I think.
Yes, from Wesley Collier, and basically during
that's a new name. That's one of the names that didn't reject me for an interview, because everybody else said he's booked up. He's booked up. I've never heard that name before. So hey,
he works directly with Deborah and Zach, and I got an email from him, and they basically, when Dave Pena and Stephen Colbert got to talk to Zack Snyder backstage during Man of Steel, I was supposed to be the third person to be backstage.
Damn it!
And I still have the fucking emails to prove it too. So that's why, if you notice, on Man of Steel, it was just the two of them. But then on the next day, it was Scott and two others. Rhea was one of them.
Rebecca Johnson.
And
we have Ray and a few other people.
A really good friend of mine made that happen. And dude, I swear to God, if I almost felt like I just should have drove down there anyway, but I mean, it just wouldn't have worked out.
One thing I'd mention is I really would have loved to have heard, because we got obviously a lot of fireworks in the Q&As from all three movies, but I would have loved to have heard somebody ask him ask Zach directly, and I still would like to see this happen. Someone ask me, hey, what are your thoughts on these guys who did this motion comic Project Justice about the story of your Justice
I
League
would have
sequels?
asked him that definitely. I would have been like, "Hey, look,
that would have been hilarious.
we made a thing called Project Justice League. Have you seen it?
Guy? Have you heard about this Andre guy? Dude, let me show you his work. I'd been like, really? I would have done it too.
Well, I mean, I could tell from likes and stuff on Vero and things like that. I mean, and other people have said, yeah, he has seen it. I mean, I just would have liked to have heard him comment on it.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. No, Mick D told me in person when I saw him at Full Circle. He told me that he was like, yeah, he's seen it and he thought it was really, really cool, dude. He thought it was awesome. I was like, thank you. It's incredible to hear. But yeah, I was supposed to be the third person on that day, and
damn it, man, I hate that for you.
Broke my heart. I was like, oh my god. It was pretty bad.
Who knows? You never know when these opportunities like that. Like I said, I was going to be up early enough to get tickets, but like I said, I had the Trauma event coming in the next weekend, and we ended up having a lot of difficulty with Lloyd Kaufman getting him here and getting him back because of flight arrangements and the way he's his name. So his name is Stanley Kaufman, but he goes by Lloyd Kaufman, and so we had security issues because it didn't match his ID. So if I would have been in LA, it would have been a disaster. But even if I was able to get tickets, but yeah, there's going to be everybody else that's going to ask him a bunch of DC questions, and I'll be there to hear those questions. But there's stuff that I'm seeing in this that I really want to ask him. Like I said, I have Dave. Dave has
if I was able to go that thing, that would have been the culmination of fucking everything. I mean, like.
Yeah, same.
I helped set up, like fundraisers and streaming events and Project Justice League. This would have been like the icing on the fucking cake. You know what I mean? I don't know what I would have said. I would have asked about that and who knows what else, but yeah, it sucks.
Well, like I said, it's a big world. It's hard to get everywhere.
And what's great actually is that the ones that made that happen. For me, even though I wasn't able to get there, was the Nerd Queens. They're the ones that made that happen. Like they reached out to me and they said, "Hey, what's your email address? We have a surprise for you, but you'll find out tomorrow morning." I was like, "What?" And so, I was like,
I met them, by the way. I got a chance to meet them at Comic-Con. Yeah, I went to Comic-Con. They camped out at the Funko place because that's where they set up their headquarters. But, yeah.
William, you also mentioned like you wouldn't want bombard Zach with strictly DC questions.
I would do be zero.
But there is one I still would love to ask him, and it's because I don't think anybody else has, to my knowledge, and I have the feeling he would answer this similarly to the question he got about the Batman and Joker question at Full Circle. But I would ask, so can you tell us what your intended payoff for the Codex was? Because that's still quite a mystery. I don't think anyone's asked him that, and I have a feeling he would answer that saying, well, I mean, look, there's this and this, but I don't want to spoil anything. So,
I almost want them to not answer that question and say,
exactly.
We'll see down the line.
But it's so crazy to think about. Like, so his take on the whole DC universe was, he had that kind of, like scientific and sort of like an ancient aliens approach to it. Initially, where. Zeus
where the
and all the
Kryptonians
gods
became the Olympians,
we're going to be Kryptonians, and people, push back saying, "Oh, that's dumb. I don't like that idea," or they said that that diminishes some of those characters. I don't think so. I think that if there was ever going to be gods that lived on this planet, thousands of years ago. Why wouldn't they be extraterrestrials, and why wouldn't they be Kryptonian? And so it would kind of make sense how that would later kind of give birth to Wonder Woman and all that, because she's a descendant of the Kryptonians. But I think that if you were to go with that like full bore, I think that Zeus, instead of having like his powers, I think it'd be something like he has gauntlets that allow him to control electricity or something. You know what I mean? Something that's scientific that people back then didn't understand, and so they kind of had to make sense of what they were seeing.
I would have a cameo with the guy with the strange dude with the hair that's on History Channel all the time.
I know, right?
By the way, a lot of people point out in the history lesson how much Zeus looks like Leonidas from 300.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I want to go ahead and get to RJ's because we had that hanging there for like 5 minutes where we're talking about Rebel Moon.
Oh, yeah,
William, thoughts on the Marvel 6.6 million Thursday night previews at low for the MCU, and I'm getting a B. Okay, RJ, we're gonna get back to the B Cinema Score because I'm gonna repeat this. This is gonna be my saying. If I ever get tattoos, I'm gonna get one of the fuck Cinema Score. Cinema Score doesn't mean shit to me, but I understand why you put it in there. Film getting his B Cinema Score, tying it for the lowest MCU Cinema Score with Quantumania. All right, so, and I learned this from Five Nights at Freddy. These scores don't matter in that context. But anyway, as far as that goes, I don't think stay the course. I wish they would get to what they're going to get to a lot quicker. And I think Marvel's is a casualty of them just being on that boat in between yachts. You know how you have those little itty bitty little boats, like you take one to a ship sometimes and they go, that's where you are, but the yachts are too far apart. You have this one big yacht, you gave them all these drugs, and that's what they're hyped up on. You gave your junkie all these drugs, and that's what they want. Yeah, there you go. And that's what they want.
That's like, I rest my case. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, B plus, really? This is a terrible movie.
Yeah, that's high
really
for Thor. That's
it's
high
a terrible
for Thor.
movie. I saw it in theaters with my nephew who was in town from Utah. And, he was bored out of his mind. I was like, hey, you want to go see Thor Love and Thunder? I still have to see it. And he was like, yeah, let's go. And so we went there. And even him, he's 13. When we left that film, I was like, hey, so what'd you think?
How you doing,
Fourth? He was like, I thought it was fucking dumb. and I expected him to be like, I liked it. No, he said I thought it was dumb.
No, I thought it's the worst 10 minutes of Russell Crowe that I ever had to endure.
Oh God, yeah.
But no, Marvel's gonna be fine.
Oh yeah, and
I mean, they're
going to
be fine in the long run, but I mean, it's not good. The shit
I was pretty underwhelmed by Mighty Thor in it too.
Yeah, here's the thing about Marvel. And like I said, we said this the other night when we went, it was MCU with the RIP MCU. I thought that No Way Home, I thought that they should have gotten, as soon as Endgame happened, your first set of movies should have been immediately getting to Fantastic Four. If I was writing Endgame along with everything else you had in there, and the post-credits for Endgame is that one of the Fantastic Four is coming through. Either an Endgame or Multiverse of Madness, because that's what you really need to get to. It's time. It's time to get to X-Men. It's time to get to Spider-Man, and it's time to get Fantastic Four being your holy trinity from this point on. I don't want another Avengers movie after this. After we do King Dynasty, I don't want to see any more Avengers. You don't need any more Avengers. You need a different drug. Throw away the little blue pill and get something more powerful now, because we've gone through all that. And we've exhausted that. And I think that the only mistake that they made was that there's too much mediocrity in that gap. That gap should have been closed. But now, because Captain Marvel is not a carrier, it's not, like I said about the Flash. That's not that's not the quarterback. He's on the team. She's on the team, but she's not the varsity guy. She's not the guy that's getting you into the end zone. And that's what people want to see. And that's what you fed them. So now we're having to go through this diet of B levels and B listers, but at least Marvel has shown that what they can do. DC has had the opposite problem. They've relied on the A-listers without ever really doing anything.
Or the B-listers.
With their A-listers, yeah. B-listers, yeah. So I would love to have MCU's problem. If I was Zaslav, I would love to have their problem at this point, because at least you have credibility. What James Gunn has to do now is he has to forge forward with no credibility. He has to ask his audience the question, why should you give me any money? And it's a good question. And there's no good answer.
Especially if my boss might just pull the plug on the movie for a tax write-off anyway.
Well, I don't think that'll happen, but
it's happened twice already. It's crazy. You're like, wow, damn.
Boss might have his plug pulled on him, or he might pull his own plug and decide, you know what? I've made this merger. I've gotten this company where I think it is solvent enough for somebody else to think it's attractive, even though I don't think anyone will. Or if he does ever buy Paramount, which may never happen, I don't think David Zaslav is the eternal guy for this. I think he's there to get it to a point to add to his legacy, and then he'll probably hand it over to somebody else, which means that whoever that person is going to want their own heads. And that's why when it comes to the whole James Gunn slate, it's like, for so many reasons, I just don't want to jump all the way in, because there's reasons that he has no control over that I might be back to square one again.
As you were saying also, earlier, on, I think it was like 2 nights ago or something like that, where we're talking about our excitement for Rebel Moon, but we were also making clear it's not intended, as far as like us as Zack Snyder fans or DC fans, it's not intended as a replacement for
No,
the unresolved story that we have advocated for the completion of through this channel. But but Rebel Moon, again, it's we see it as a very parallel thing, an awesome parallel thing, which, as you said, has the potential to become like his his almost like his definitive stamp on it. But again, that cloud is just continuing to loom over WB and DC Studios, and it's just I don't see it going away.
Yeah, like I said, I am on record over and over again. I am not a restore the Snyderverse guy. I never was. I never will be. I'm a resolve. I am a conclude. I am a finish your product before you decide you think you can sell me another one, because all I have, every example you have is broken or substituting stuff for the stuff that you were afraid to do, and that's not a good. I'm not. You want me to pull out new money when I'm still watching you fumble around with the old cash I gave you? That's not a good sales.
That's why I say it's like with Zach, where Zach, imagine him answering that Codex question saying, I can't tell you, let's wait. It's like that. He can create that kind of excitement with something like that, and he can he could probably a second.
What?
Say again.
Go ahead, Nick.
No, I said he definitely can. I was agreeing with you. Sorry.
And by the way, I want to go ahead and pull this up real quick because Film Junkie, he had mentioned he was going to like the LA premiere of Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah, he went to Godzilla.
I want to share his reaction because I did see the atomic breath clip from that, and that looks fucking
unreal. I saw that with the plates. Did you see the plates popping up? That was cool.
So
that's gonna be I wish I still lived in LA.
Yeah, my phone died when I was in the theater, so I wasn't able to do a first reaction review. Posted it tomorrow. This movie. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. I've heard. I got some people who live in Japan who went to the film festival. They say it's one of the greatest Godzilla features of all of them that they've done.
Really?
I'm hearing great things about it. They did not do an advanced screening here in Vegas because I was ready. I mean, I got Hunger Games, but I didn't get -1, so I'm kind of pissed. But yeah, I wanted to. I'm going to go see that day one, and we're gonna do the watch party for because guess what, Monarch looks great too.
Yeah, I mean, looks really good. I can't wait to see that.
We got a Godzilla multiverse going, as you said, William.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not like I said in the confusion thing. I got like 10 Godzillas this month, and I'm gonna watch them all. And everybody's gonna watch them all.
The one that he went and saw today, that's like its own thing, right? It's not a
part that's outside of the
monster. That's not part of the monster. That's the Japanese Godzilla.
This is Toho. This is straight up Toho.
Yeah, some of the some of the stills I've seen of it, it's like, man, it's like this is like the most souped up Godzilla we've ever seen, and
angry, angry Godzilla.
Yeah, with that atomic breath clip, like I was saying, I mean, it's like, oh, my God in heaven, I can't wait to see him blast off of that.
Yeah, no, I have not seen the Marvels yet. I don't plan on it.
Yeah, Andre loved it.
It's it was rough, and I actually thought that RJ put it best. I was looking at one of his responses to it, and really, I really agreed that like the first half of the movie, I actually thought, okay, well, this isn't so bad. Like I can, like this is entertaining, whatever. But then after like the middle and the second half of the movie was just a complete and utter train wreck. They had two really long scenes that were completely ridiculous and were completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I know the ones you're talking about, I think. One in particular.
Sounds like Quantumania all over again. Oh, shit.
Yeah, well, I would say, oh my God, I don't even know. Like, Quantumania I saw in the theater, and I really haven't wanted to see it since.
That just kind of came and went for me.
Yeah, but there's two major scenes in there where I was like, oh my God, like, this is complete filler. And the fact that the movie's only an hour and 45 minutes. So if you
it's a short movie, I hear. Yeah, it's pretty short.
If you take out the two scenes that I thought were irrelevant, you're looking at a film that's probably like an hour and a half, hour and 25 minutes.
Disney Plus
that goes to show you, that could have been a Disney Plus movie. But two, there wasn't even a strong enough storyline to really tell, because I mean, it was that short. And it was short as it was. And they had these two scenes that were just complete filler and didn't make any sense to like their transitions. it was not good. Now the
Here's-
end credit scenes were really good. The
I
second
saw
one in
those.
particular,
Somebody
Yeah,
sent
yeah.
me those. I was
the
like,
second
God
one was
damn it.
great. I loved it.
Here's the
And,
thing. Though. This is the thing that Marvel has. This kind of movie, right? You're describing.
Yeah.
That's been Marvel since 2008. And like I was telling Brad, here's the difference. You had the A-listers providing cover. It's like having those B-52 bombers provide cover for your infantry. You can get
Yeah.
away with a lot when you have the when you have the
Well,
Avengers, when you have the Captain Americas, when you have the
but I
Iron
mean,
Man.
the main
know?
characters, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau, they weren't bad. I actually thought they did fine.
Oh, Iman
There was-
Vellani, she steals this movie. I mean, she is. I loved her as Miss Marvel.
It's not the cat
Oh
stole the
yeah,
movie.
yeah. Well,
No, the cat. The hell, the cat
but,
stole anything.
Miss Marvel's character is good. I enjoyed her. I enjoyed her in the show as well. But I mean, in reality, like she represents us as like fans of the characters, and so
Yeah.
it was easy to relate to her because she was the most like human character of the three of them. But Monica Rambeau, I've always enjoyed her character. I think that again, she's also very relatable as well. But it was everything that surrounded them. Kamala's family. I liked it. They were fine in the beginning, but towards the end, it was like, why are they still around? Like now it's getting
They like Jaime's from Blue Beetle.
No, they were actually that one made more sense because I mean they didn't leave the planet, they didn't like leave their city, they were still in the same city. So like when it came to Blue Beetle, that was fine. I was fine with that, for the most part. But this
With
one,
Nana?
it just seemed like they stuck around for too long. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, what are we doing here? And then there's a cat scene in this one that like just I could not believe when I was
Yes,
watching.
I know the one you're talking about.
I was like, holy shit, what is this? It was bad. And then, but like I said, the second end credit scene, for me, because I grew up watching the '90s X-Men movies, and I'm sorry, the 2000s, and then the animated series that was in the '90s.
Almost, you're about to get banned from the channel, but keep going.
I know, but like I was, I was a big fan of those movies, and so to get a nod for the X-Men.
Okay, don't go too far though, because I don't.
Yeah,
that's your.
just
I think we might be. I've seen them.
territory.
Yeah, we might be tap dancing. I'm going to give a full spoiler
Not
tomorrow.
that,
I'll let
but,
Brad do
but I
it.
mean, all the X-Men. I mean, even Days of Future Past. Just to see X-Men again, it just felt really good to have
Oh, well,
something.
we just spoiled it. That's okay. We're going to do it.
It's
We'll
all
do
over
it
the
this
internet,
one
but
tomorrow.
still,
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm not going to go into what it was and
Nah.
what it showed, but
it was cool
know.
to see though. It was definitely because I enjoyed those movies. Like I said, the '90s cartoon that's banned.
Yeah.
But the 2000s movies, I think, were the groundbreaking thing that allowed us to be in this comic book cinematic atmosphere that we're in now. I think that X-Men being able to put that kind of cast together, go that big, and go that all around with multiple characters on that scale was why we were able to get a lot of the movies that we have now. I think that was it. People like to say Blade. Most people that saw Blade didn't even know Blade was a comic book character. Everybody who saw X-Men knew who the X-Men were. So that movie, those movies are important.
Really, I feel like if Marvel Studios had the X-Men originally, I don't think we would have gotten the Avengers to lead off.
Oh, yeah.
I think it would have been all X-Men. I mean, X-Men.
Yeah, if they had Spider-Man and the X-Men initially, yeah.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man and the X-Men are those are your main top characters in Marvel, and that's what always bothered me about these movies was that X-Men was always in Fox. And Sony had Spider-Man, and it was just so screwed up for a while.
It needs to keep Spider-Man. But if they hadn't made that transaction, there would be no Marvel Studios because there would have been no Marvel Comics because that was what brought them out of bankruptcy.
Well, that's the thing too. Also about like with the the divisions among studios. I mean, because we're now in multiverse movies and Elseworlds movies. I mean, it's like the ship has sailed as far as the idea that the door is ever shut permanently on anyone returning. So I mean that's just and that plays into
Black Panther. You're going to get a new Black Panther out of it.
That plays into this end credit scene. Absolutely. I'll just leave it at that.
And there's, like I said, there's a particular character that I was talking about a couple of days ago that ties into the other little scene that they had there because you can't have what they're talking about without a particular character that's very relevant into what they're doing going forward. I'll leave it there, and I'll talk about it tomorrow. I'll let you give a full spoiler about it tomorrow, and then we'll warn people. But that's why I don't think you can replace certain characters. As I don't care what kind of problems that the actor is having.
Yeah,
you
I mean, you
replacing
can't.
that character. You just ain't doing it. You get somebody to play him, That's not beating the hell out of people. But you get somebody to play him. Batman Begins for Veterans Day, no. But thank you for the happy Veterans Day wishes. You deserve, William. After all, the best Batman solo film of the day. Listen, dude, I when I can't sleep and I can't take the allergy medication that helps me sleep, and I take Benadryl to put me to sleep. Sometimes if I'm out of Benadryl, I'll put in Batman Begins because it'll put me to sleep just as quickly.
This is definitely trolling. I mean, William has made very clear his opinion on the Dark Knight trilogy on this point.
Dark Knight trilogy's over. It's one Heath Ledger away from making really, really good money, but not making that kind of money and not being looked back on that,
By the way, this is something I'm going to mention tomorrow during Seven Samurai, which, yes, Zach has stated that Seven Samurai was an influence on his Justice League, and he's also made clear with Rebel Moon. So,
look at the synopsis of Rebel Moon. Look at the synopsis of Rebel Moon, and then go look at the synopsis of Seven Samurai. It's almost the same. It's almost it's cool that way. Like, that's why I put
and of course, I mean, in jail, you have lines like Bruce saying, "It's like I'm forming an alliance. I need warriors to defend us." So, Zach has even said, like, there was one interview where he'd mentioned that, if you look over his body of work, I mean, he tends to like his stories tend to be like bringing the team together kind of stories, which is of course very much ingrained in Seven Samurai. So, I mean, this has definitely been an influence, throughout probably the bulk of his career in various levels, but became most prominent first with ZSJL, and now even going to be even more so with Rebel Moon.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool to see the influences, like, and not just him. There's been so many, Quentin Tarantino, George Lucas. There's so many people that have been influenced by this particular one. But I wasn't on the ground level for Star Wars. I mean, I was there in the theater, but I was 3. Quentin Tarantino's movies, I didn't jump on board till later on, and I never felt that was something as big as this could be. What you're talking about, building an entire genre. You're not just talking about a movie with Rebel Moon. You're literally talking about reestablishing a genre and modernizing a genre, and that just doesn't happen. You only get a couple of those in your lifetime. You only get a couple opportunities in a lifetime to be there when something like that happens. So that's what kind of makes this kind of special. And like I said, I think it's going to have a reverse effect of polarizing a lot of his work. I do think the Rebel Moon move and the getting the stuff on Netflix move, that was to give them more data to look at. When I type in Zach, when I watch this, when I'm done watching Rebel Moon, I guarantee you it's going to lead me into those, automatically. Oh, you like this, so guess what? We're going to feed you right into.
It's their own algorithm.
It just unfortunately had to be with the bullshit version of Justice League.
Yeah, like I said, I will defend that version.
I know you've said.
I have to repeat it though because I don't want people tweeting, "Oh, you like Justice League." No, I fucking hate that movie. That movie's I don't hate that movie, but for the layman who was not in the trenches with us for the last 5 years, that was their introduction to the MILF Magnet, and the MILF Magnet went on to make $1 billion. And then Gal Gadot, without BVS and Justice League, the layman doesn't get the kind of exposure to that character that allowed all these characters to make money. And that's why when they're going to show, I guarantee you, I'll flip one of Turner's network is going to be showing that movie tomorrow. And I had somebody standing in my store because my TV is right above that counter there. And they stood there for a while watching Justice League. And that was their first introduction to those. And guess what their question after that was? So what's it? And I explained to them, and guess what? I was their doorway to everything else. Yep.
Okay.
I pulled up HBO Max. They had HBO Max, and I told them this is what you need to go watch. But I wouldn't have been. I may not have been able to have that conversation if it's not. You got the door may be ugly, but it's still a door. I mean, I know. It's okay to cringe, but
walk through the door, made the dog shit to get to the pot of gold on the other side of it. Please.
But if I know there's a pot of gold, I can get to it. But
by the way, you're gonna love this one. I'm watching the Arrowverse for the first time, doing chronological order. Just got Supergirl episode 1. I can't believe it. Yeah, William has made clear he's not an Arrowverse guy.
I'm sorry, Larry. Guess what, Larry? Good news for you, Larry. you are probably going to be maybe the 21st or 22nd person to watch it. If you're in an elite club, you're in a very minute elite club. My feelings on the Arrowverse are that the people doing it and working on it did the best they could with what they had. But I don't believe in low budget superhero magic. I just don't. If you're going to go all in, you have to go all in. There are certain things, and I think that one of the reasons why they had such a low audience is because it comes off as low budget superheroes. And in the era,
it's television.
In the era of comic book movies, especially when most of those premiered, it just doesn't hold up. I would rather, I just don't see. And plus, on a network that never made any cash, which is another thing. You're money laundering when you have 9 years of a show on a network that hasn't drawn a profit since 2006. You're using that as a master plan.
Here's a good one, Aaron, and we can answer this question very easily. Wasn't
My
there
favorite
a Western
Australian?
inspired Seven Samurai? Yeah, it's called Magnificent Seven.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So-
but there's a lot of movies that have
Star Wars.
inspiration.
Empire
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star
Snow
Wars
Saga.
has
You
inspiration from, I think it's called like Akira Kurosawa, I think it's called. And then like Reservoir Dogs is heavily inspired by City on Fire. If you watch City on Fire, it's a Japanese movie. It's like almost the same exact movie, but just a little bit different. And so he took a massive inspiration from that. Probably a little too much, I think. But if
There's
you
one
haven't
that
seen
there was one that Donnie Yen did in Hong Kong. It's called Seven Swords. So that's
Yeah.
a Chinese one.
I think the Hateful Eight kind of takes a little bit, not as much as others, but you
Yeah.
can see the framework there. So I that's why I like this guy. Well, if you put people in front of a Kurosawa stuff, you're literally putting them in front of almost a lot of stuff that they watch, but never understood that this guy, the influence. So I think that's going to be kind of cool for all these people who watch certain movies. Well, I'm going to be watching to see, do you see the familiarities? Do you see the structure? Yeah, it's a different movie. It's
yeah.
old and
But I
subsided,
think
but
that,
that framework there, right?
we're in a world now where, I mean, we've come so far when it comes to storytelling that, I think that a lot of, especially original stories, are going to be, heavily drawn from, inspirations of other stories. And you look at now in the film industry, I mean, they're just redoing all kinds of movies. They recently, the guy who was going to remake Scarface announced that his project is finally over. And I'm like, dude, why do we have to remake that? Why don't we just leave it as is? I mean, it's still a good movie. And
Yeah, it's a remake itself, but it's an iconic remake.
Right.
It's like
But-
the Thing remake. You can't really do much,
But there's certain movies that I think should not be, remade, and I
Red
fear
Dawn.
that it's going to happen. The biggest one, which I'm surprised has not been remade, is Back to the Future. I am surprised that they have not tried.
Leave that
to
alone,
do that.
please.
Exactly.
They're trying.
I agree.
They're trying, but
that
Zemeckis has control. So
I mean,
that's why.
it's such. I mean, I love those films, and I don't want them remade. I don't want a different actor playing Marty McFly. Just it is what it is, right? Like
Pete Davidson, get Pete Davidson to play him. No, I'm just kidding.
God.
Oh,
Well, here's the thing, though, and how I approach remakes is, like I said, this is like this Crow remake coming up, Highlander. If it sucks, I still have my Crow. I still have my Highlander. I will tell them, though, straight up, if they were sitting on this show, you guys have an uphill battle, because so much of what made movies like Red Dawn and The Crow and Back to the Future was the environment and the time that they existed in, especially Red Dawn. Red Dawn remake was fucking horrible because it's a Cold War movie.
It was really
Without the Cold
bad.
War, you can't do it. You can't do it without the Cold War.
Well,
And I love
I
the
think,
Cold
I think
So-
though, that as far as Highlander goes, I mean, the combination of the John Wick director and Superman, that really has my
Yeah.
full confidence.
No, I think that one will do well because, I mean, there's a lot of aspects that you can kind of keep the same and it'll still look badass. But when it comes to Red Dawn, no, the new one was. I mean, I want to say it was like maybe 20 minutes into it. I was like, this is not good.
I gave it 8. I gave it 8 minutes. And like I
Yeah,
said,
I was
I
like,
saw Red Dawn in the theaters. And like I was growing up on an Air Force base in the middle of the Cold War, and we were going to see a Cold War movie, and that's what it was. And same thing with The Crow. We've highlighted The Crow too, and The Crow is like so much of The Crow was the alternative music atmosphere that was the mid '90s, and you can't replicate some of these things. So,
but I mean, Red Dawn. I mean, even the remake, like it was kind of like, why are we changing the narrative or like the story? It should have just been the Cold War enemies. It should have just been the same. Instead, they
could have been Russia. It's Russia now.
Yeah. And then they turned it to the Chinese, which I'm like, dude, now you're just.
Well, and then they turned it from that to Korea because they wanted to get it released in China.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was just dumb. I didn't like it. It was just like, okay, cool. Hemsworth in it. Okay, that's cool. But it was like, other than that, I didn't enjoy the film at all.
Nah, I hated
it. But the
it.
original, I love. I love the original one.
Yeah, and PG-13, which is showing you first movie, that and the Flamingo Kid, showing you that the PG-13 was and always will be bullshit. The shit that happens in the first 5 minutes of Red Dawn is not PG-13.
Yeah, I guess when people get shot in Red Dawn, it's like it looks like when Ed 209 guns down that dude in RoboCop.
Yeah, man, dude. The teacher walks out there, is trying to ask them, what they're doing. They fucking mow him down, and they throw grenades, and they're shooting at the school. And
there's a dead kid hanging in out of the window.
Yeah, I was like, and where was that at in the remake? No, they can't do that anymore. They can't.
There was implied rape. There was it was not a PG-13 movie.
But that's the problem with films these days is that, I think that, the over censorship and, the woke culture has really made it to where a lot of these films these days they're not the same that they used to be.
Because in the 80s, you could offend anybody. Nobody cared. We were on with the joke. Listen, Eddie Murphy made fun of white people, and white people laughed at him, laughed with him.
Did.
Archie Bunker would drop all kinds of epithets against us, and my dad would be sitting there cracking up because we were in on the joke. We were not as sensitive in the 80s. I mean, Andrew Dice Clay made millions in the 80s. He wouldn't even be able to come out of his house in this day and era. So it's a different era. And we weren't as sensitive. Generation Xers, we were sensitive. Was not you got called something else if you were that sensitive. I can't even say it on air.
Yeah, exactly.
I said a lot of shit on air. So,
when you look at the films and even like some of the, you mentioned Eddie Murphy. Like, remember Eddie Murphy Raw?
Oh my goodness!
Which was just a live comedy that was in theaters. Yep. And that was big. That was great, and you don't see that. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Comedies, like comedy skits.
Dave Chappelle are the closest because they don't care anymore. They had their careers. They're in their 50s. You can't touch either one of them. Chappelle never cared. So now he really doesn't. But those are really a handful of people. Everybody else does it safe. And like I said, I understand that we're in a different world, but man, I'm glad I grew up in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. Because like I said,
it's a different world, man. I mean, like, we're talking about movies like Commando, Cobra with Sylvester Stallone.
Cobra was horrible, but it was fun horrible.
What, Cobra?
Yeah, you're a disease, and I'm the cure.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But that's the whole point. It was like, yeah, this is badass. And those guys, they have the
clanking of the pipes.
Yeah.
But remember the opening scene of Cobra. The opening scene of Cobra. This fool, he's robbing a grocery store. Sylvester Stallone comes in, sunglasses on, indoors, can't shoot or aim with that. He goes in, cracks open a beer, and just completely blasts this guy. And then the guy
kills him.
Do you think you use excessive force? And he's like, I gave it everything I had. And then he pulls the thing over the dead body and like, tell that to his parents. I'm like, wow. It was the 80s.
Brutal, man. Total Recall. Like, films like that. But then you had comedies and you had movies that
Soul Man. Soul Man would have people protesting. Soul Man would have people protesting now. C. Thomas Howell, I think was in that whole story. I laughed at that. You might not even be able to get away with Tropic Thunder. They're like,
I always say to this day that Tropic Thunder was the last film that came out that was able to get away with that. Everything after that, you just couldn't do it anymore.
I was the last comedy I paid to see, but he's playing a black guy. I get the joke. I'm laughing. The black guy's laughing, and I'm no less black for laughing at Soul Man or Robert Downey. Don't you get what he's doing? It's the whole. You're in. If you're not in on the joke, cool. you don't have to, turn over the table and be like,
right.
don't tell that joke. But I mean, if it ain't for you, it ain't
It's
for you.
satire is what it is,
Yeah.
and it doesn't
Literally.
exist anymore because it just offends a lot of people. I mean, when you watch Naked Gun, part 1, 2, and 3, I mean,
That's a human resource disaster right there. You try to make that movie.
If you remade that, you couldn't do it. The Three Amigos can't make it anymore. It had to be a totally different movie. It's just,
I think I don't think they could get away with Liar, which is Liar, which is my all-time favorite comedy. I don't know if they could get away with a lot of that. That's my all-time favorite comedy.
But that's why I like these movies. I like the fact that I have a library of these movies I can go watch because, like I said, some of the movies are still good. Some of the movies are still good, but some of them are just, the basic generic genre. Like I can still watch Dune, and I prefer the 2021 Dune before I prefer the 80s Dune because that was a product of its time and not the best way. But some of them are good. But yeah, but with the movies we got coming up, with this season coming up, we got all this Godzilla stuff coming up. We got Rebel Moon. Like I said, without Dune there, I think that's really going to be a big boost for that.
That's too bad, man.
No, it's horrible. It's fucking
Dune
horrible.
Next year. It's fucking done. It's done. It's just sitting there waiting.
Yeah. And it's not going to be March 15th, by the way. You can put that.
Yeah. And by the way, it's like the Marvel postponements we heard about the other day. It's like that's just the beginning. They're going to start shifting more things around for 6 months of next year. But
I mean, they're talking about Deadpool 3 coming out next year. I think
July 26th.
It absolutely has to come out next year because I mean, look, if you take another year off of your movies for the MCU, I mean, that's going to be too hard to come back. In fact, the Marvels, I want to say, I could be wrong, but I think it was supposed to come out last year before the whole.
Yeah, I think it was actually within
come out before Secret Wars.
Yeah,
and within like a week of the Flash, I think.
Yeah, and so realistically, like that film felt like it should have came out last year. When watching it, I was like, this should have came out last year.
Well, I guess if you look at Nick Fury, from what I'm told, the Nick Fury that's in this movie is not the Nick Fury that that's in Secret Wars. It's a spry,
a Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion. I'm sorry.
No, it does not feel that way whatsoever.
Wow, that's crazy. I don't know if I'm going to see this. I'm probably going to Disney Plus this, simply because I didn't have any interest in it coming in. And I because the character, I didn't have any, and this is what I've learned. I was that guy who went to every single movie. I went to every single MCU movie, and I've gone to every DC movie since the Superman, Christopher Reeve era. And I ran up into Blue Beetle, and for the first time in my life, I was not at the theater to see a major comic book movie. Other than Deadpool, I've skipped all the Deadpools, and I'm skipping this next one. But because it's just not I hated that character. I actually told Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza in person I hated that character. But so it has nothing to do with the movie. But I skipped Blue Beetle because that's where I'm at with this for right now. I'm just not excited. I'm just not excited.
I mean, I liked Blue Beetle. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought the special effects were good in that movie. They used a lot of practical effects, which I liked, and they were strategic in how they used their special effects. I like the story, I like the family. Overall, I liked the movie Blue Beetle, but it wasn't a movie that I was like, holy cow, I got to own this shit. But I thought it was very entertaining. And, I'm Hispanic, so seeing a Hispanic superhero was cool, and I enjoyed seeing that. Same thing as I like seeing him, what's his name? Namor over in Wakanda Forever. Remember Wakanda Forever came out? Like, whatever happened to that?
Yeah.
Well, it came and went because of the decisions they made in that movie. And listen, I understand the decision that they made, but it was the wrong decision. And when you're making a decision about your movie and it hurts your movie, then it doesn't matter how heartfelt you felt about that decision. It was the wrong decision. The Black Panther needed T'Challa in that movie, not T'Challa Jr., T'Challa. You needed the Black Panther.
But T'Challa Jr. didn't show up to the very end. I mean,
yeah, so he didn't even in the replacement Black Panther just didn't do it for me. It's
yeah, it was just it was just everybody else, and that's the thing. It was like you're watching a Black Panther movie, but he wasn't there. It was just everybody else,
and it was a funeral. I felt like I was watching a funeral. I felt like I go to the movies to be entertained and uplifted and taken out of my doldrums, and I felt like I said, I felt like
the movie is really awake. It's awake.
And people jumped on me because I'm like, listen, memorials, tombstones, grave sites, those are memorials. There are thousands of ways you can we pay respect to the dead. Movies are not memorials. Chadwick Boseman was a asset to tell the story of T'Challa. He was not the movie. He was not, he was not the story. The story existed before him, and Lord willing, the story will exist after him. I thought they should have recast it. People die every day, and I hate to say insensitive, but guess what? When I go, the world's still going to spin. The story first, and this is where I think Marvel, they've made a couple missteps lately. They never did this before. Marvel and Kevin Feige always put the story first. The story was always paramount. That came first, then individuals came later, and everything else came later after that. With T'Challa, that was the first time that they made a decision that wasn't based on a movie decision. You made a decision based on your make-believe story. You put a real-life situation into your make-believe story, and it really hurt that movie, and I think that hurt the movie's box office. It was depressing. It was depressing from the beginning to end. And that's just not what you go to the movie for,
I mean, like,
and the
character. Go ahead.
Well, I was like the thing I've found like really also interesting about that too is that Wakanda Forever was the next MCU movie after Thor: Love and Thunder, which is completely opposite tonally. So it's like you just have this 180 of a tone shift that is just so bizarre and so it's such a case of tonal whiplash between the two of them. I mean, Wakanda Forever. I don't think you would even need to do like a forensic analysis on this, but I mean, it's probably like the least joke heavy of any MCU movie.
Yeah, I mean,
it's going on, Jarbo. It was a long. It was hard to get through that movie because like I said, it's a constant reminder of the real life consequences that should not be in that movie. And I'm sorry, I know people loved him and everything, but even his family was like, you need to recast his role. I mean, and they didn't. So it is what it is. But yeah, man, like I said, this is a good month. I got Doctor Who going on. I'm about to dive in. I'm finding out there's more people that are willing to jump into the TARDIS with me. So I'm all right. Let's do it. I got Godzilla's coming up. The Monarch. We're going to do live watches on Monarch. And then Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon's gonna cap off this season for me, December 22nd. I'm gonna start making the graphics and everything else. I'm gonna start sending out links to people. Hey, are you available? I know it's Christmas time, but we're going to be doing auctions. I got some stuff coming in from Alex Ross. We did that for the March 18th a couple of years ago, where he sent us stuff. Actually, Scott from Film Junkie, he won an action figure and he won a signed Alex Ross comic book. I got some fun with that.
Wait, so Alex Ross, he's doing artwork for Rebel Moon?
No. I get stuff from them, his museum, to auction off or raffle off. Like last time for when we had the premiere, we screened it at the center. We had, if you donated and you sent us the receipt to the Autumn Fund, we put your name in a drawing and then you won prizes that way. So if you go back to those couple of streams, but we're going to do it up this time because I'm either going to rent out the theater, Galaxy Theater again, or we're going to do it in the screening room inside the Sci-Fi Center, which is ready to do that kind of stuff. It might be easier to do it in the center because I can stream there before, during, and after. Than doing it, having to drive back and all that. So aesthetically, the theater would be cooler, but functionality wise, it might be easier to have everything set up there and just go back and forth and bring on who we can bring on who wants to come on, and then afterwards just do a complete dissecting of the film. What we saw, finally having seen it, and other people will have seen it on the 15th, 16th, but it's going to be hard to talk to those people and for those people to talk to everybody else.
And of course, this is, I mean, we will, we definitely, or William and I have had discussions about, reaching out to certain parties involved with the making of Rebel Moon, and obviously that's going to be a lot easier to actually make that happen now with Strike Over.
But I'm going to get rejected by each and every one of them, so I have no illusions of grandeur. But I'm going to try. Listen, I get rejected when we do these things. I get rejected like 90% of the time, and you'll never. Most people do. So it's like
as I mentioned, obviously that extends to any opportunity with the big guy himself, if he were to have if he were able to drop in, we would absolutely never hesitate to bring aboard the side by center. And one thing I admit, well, go ahead.
Have more of a chance of getting struck by lightning within the next 5 minutes than that happening. But hey, listen, I will send it out there. And like I said, fully expecting, just like my Ric Flair belt the other day, fully expecting I wasn't going to get that signature, even though I shook the man's hand and had the belt in hand. I fully knew that there was going to be some chaotic reason that I wasn't going to get my signature on the belt. Or when I went to Comic-Con, when I took my Todd McFarlane, I got the signature, but I got on the plane knowing full well that I'm probably going to get turned down and rejected.
And now you might go 3 for 3 this year on that now.
2.5 for 3. I got to beat Ric Flair, but I didn't get the belt signed. But in Todd McFarlane,
like one thing I've said, I've mentioned on prior streams, regarding Zach is, we saw this, with the Full Circle event, with with the release of the Zack Snyder's Justice League, and with when he's just just showing up on streams like Film Junkie stream and other YouTuber streams. And how many other directors can we think can we really name or think of in terms of like guys that are handling like $200 million budgets who are just is so generous with their time, they'll just drop on YouTube channels, that aren't like attached to like IGN or anything, and they just shoot the shit with their fans. Zach he'll come on and say, "Yeah, I can stick around for 20 minutes, guys. Then I got to split." And then an hour and a half later, that's when he finally takes off.
Well, yeah, he's just, he's a different kind of guy, and he's more grounded than I think a lot of other directors out there, and he appreciates his fans and what they did for him in terms of helping him get his cut released and just sticking with him and helping raise a ton of money for AFSP. When we made the streaming event, Deck the Hall of Justice, he dropped in on like a bunch of different streams that we had set up on the on the panel of shows, and even some of the international shows. He jumped on some of those as well, and so that was really cool. I mean, to me, I felt really good knowing that like he was aware of the schedule of shows that we put together, and he jumped on several of those shows. I thought that was so awesome.
No, one of my favorite, and I remember like when you guys were doing those, he because you were there, Film Junkie was there, Chris Wong was there, and there was the one point where he pulled out his phone, he pulled up some of the soundtrack, like the heavy metal soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like I had the same reaction as everybody. It's like,
that was
man,
the one time I got to talk to him, and then I got super nervous. I didn't say much.
Yeah, and like I said, I get to meet a lot of independent people, independent directors like that. But I usually, like I said, because they're coming on to push things. But when it comes to like the bigger things, it's a little bit harder. But like I said, and a lot of those guys were in at the ground level when a lot of the stuff was still coming together. So I met them way afterwards. So, but like I said, if any one of them ever watches my stream and wants to come on and help raise money, because that's where we're not just going to be raising money. We're going to be, to me, the money's important. Obviously, like I explained the other night, the money's important. It helps put people in places to where they can do these things and for a living or take time off and do stuff. And it facilitates things. That's great. But I think most importantly, what December 22nd is going to be about for me is going to be about the awareness, making sure people go into the holidays with an awareness and watching out for these things, watching out for the changes in the people that are around you. If you have these life incidences that are happening, and that the anniversary is coming up, and just keep an eye on your people. Like I said, we're not psychologists, we're not psychiatrists, but we do know the people around us to the point where if you see a drastic change, hey, that's why we always put the 988 number out there. We're not equipped with the tools to fix people, but there are people that are. All we need to do is create the bridge so that they can get somebody on the line to help. And those people on those ends of those lines, I plan on having them on too. We had for March 18th, we had the show before that, we had one of the national FSP people. And then I want to have these people on 988 because it's easy. We're in a digital era. We're in a cell phone era. If you can ingrain that into people's psyche, it sits there with the negative thoughts, and maybe 988 will win out over what the other alternative. You know what I mean? So it's going to be about that. We're going to try to raise some money. I got a bunch of Funko Pops. I hope to get some of them signed and put them we'll have an in-store auction, and we're going to have an online auction. So the event will actually take place, either at the theater or in the screening room, as well as well as on YouTube or our channel. So,
I don't know. I don't know if I'd say that because exactly, he's not really a big post credits guy. He's more kind of like whatever tease he makes. That's like he does that at the very
Get to it.
cut to black.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, and
It's
plus
like-
it's coming out not that far after. I mean, what, April?
Yeah, and the Blood Axe prequel comic is in the interim between those. So
Which I'm going to grab. I'm going to grab. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna
we
do
had
that.
Andre. If you hadn't seen, I had a little bit of a exchange on Twitter with Mags, who his last name is escaping me. The writer of the comic, and we shared a little bit of that because I said, oh, it was like what were the parameters you were having to work with? And he's, yeah, Zach, we had a few bullet points I had to hit, but otherwise he said just have at it, just go, have your heart's content. So.
Oh wow.
Ooh, I'm way behind on the chat. Sorry, chat. I'm leaving it up to Brad.
Here's a good one. Well, because this is new to me, Aaron. Because it's like, that could be interesting. I mean, because the Prince of Egypt, that's like kind of like the definitive 10 Commandments for me personally. So that can be good.
Oh, they got to be careful there because last time they did a movie about Egypt, man, that story the shit.
Are you talking about the Ridley Scott one?
Yeah, the one where who they got to play certain people was like, oh no.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
that's probably not one of Ridley Scott's better ones in general.
No, and I love Ridley Scott, but he's made some things that I wasn't on board with. I hope Napoleon is good. I think if Napoleon is, I hope he still has it because I plan on being there first day for Napoleon. So.
And then then we go. Of course, Joaquin Phoenix wins another Oscar, and he goes up on stage and babbles about God knows what for like 5 minutes. It's like,
they've been doing that. In all fairness, they've been doing that for like 80 years now. So it's like, Marlon Brando didn't want to take his award for The Godfather, so he sends the Native American girl up there to give a speech. So, and and both times that Sean Penn won. Sean Penn, I thought was going to run for office, but when he won for Milk. And when he won for what was it, Mystic River, you couldn't shut him up. So, but that's their moment. That's their moment. You never know when you're going to get up there again. So there you go. All right, grab another one real quick.
Where are we?
I think you're better at this because me doing
there's one about Loki here, but I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll leave that one be. We'll kind of talk about more about
I liked it.
I loved Loki. I'm going to go into it in detail tonight.
Yeah,
tonight
Loki. Well, the reception is very much kind of the opposite of what the Marvels is beginning.
Yes, it was way better than Marvels.
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of it is because it's carried. I mean, every character in Loki does it as a top-notch job that the show could not do without. What's her face? Sophie DiMartino. She does a great job there.
Oh,
Tom
Hiddleston that's brutal, man. Come on.
Oh, geez.
It wasn't that. Wakanda Forever was.
It wasn't a horrible movie. It's just there was a hole. There was a hole in that
is
movie where he needed to be. I didn't watch Wakanda Forever because I'm not interested. Yeah, a lot of people did. And like I said, a lot of people, and plus a lot of people, like I said, the star guy is not there, and I understand he passed, but there needed to be, and it really hurt Horta's character. It really hurt Namor, because whenever Namor rose to that level that he was rising to, he didn't have T'Challa to rise there with him. He didn't have the equal in there. He had a substitute in there, and it hurt his character. It hurt the movie. So
he had Shuri there, and it wasn't strong enough, unfortunately.
And people were like, "Well, that was how they did in the comics." I'm like, you don't have to tell me how it went in the comic. I read a couple of those every now and then. But here's the thing: if that wasn't your plan going in, that's what the whole thing about with the whole Doctor Doom and Kang nonsense. If you're changing your plan for things that have nothing to do with your story, to me, it's the wrong decision, and it's going to hurt your movie. The story comes first. That's it. Everybody else, good.
Well, I actually thought the Killmonger scene in Wakanda Forever was really good.
I did like that. I did like that.
That was
I love him.
That was one of the best parts of the movie. Like when he showed up instead of T'Challa, I was like, dude, that's badass.
Boy, my whole audience when they saw that, I mean, there was a big gasp and then a cheer for that because there was no indication or hint that he was going to be in it at all. So that was a really big surprise.
Nothing. Yeah, that was great.
So, he was one of the best things about the first one because he was an enemy. He did abhorrent things. He was horrible. He killed. I mean, he was a bad person, but his motives were something that a lot of people could relate to. and that's what the best enemies. It's like Zod. Zod was a piece of shit. He killed innocent people. He didn't care. But when that scene in Man of Steel, it was like, however evil and destructive you think I am, everything I did, I was born to protect my people, and now I have no people. You've taken my soul. That's what you take. I love that.
I wish I could find this on YouTube, but I remember like after Man of Steel came out, there was one guy giving a review of it. It was very positive, but he was gonna do a little bit of commentary on that part of it, and he said, with Zod with that speech, and when he fights Superman, there, Zod, his interpretation of it, Zod is basically using Superman to commit suicide.
Yeah, he says you're gonna have to kill me. You're gonna have to kill me, or I'm gonna kill you. And I love the way what's her face, Flora, the way she was just so callous about for everyone you save, we'll kill a million more. It's like they just didn't care. I mean, it's just that's what they were, but they were thinking military, wise. They weren't thinking on the human level because they're not human. So it was perfect. I love that movie. Go ahead.
Some of their interactions too were just so good. I mean. And it was more realistic too, in the sense that, like for instance, in the first Transformers movie, right? They're trying to get the glasses at Sam's house, and the Transformers are hiding from the windows so the parents don't see them. Yeah, so they're trying to hide from the parents because they don't want the parents to see them because they don't want to get Sam in trouble, right? In reality, it's like, okay, they'd be like, fuck, I'll shoot your parents. Give me the fucking glasses. And so then what I love so much about like Man of Steel was when they show up at the farm and he's talking to Martha Kent and he's like, where's the Codex? He's like, I don't know. And he's like, where's the Codex? I mean, because in his mind, he's like, he's basically saying, give it to me. I came all this way for it. You're not going to slow me down. She like has no idea what he's talking about. And then Superman flies in and attacks him. But the way that he was interacting with her, like, that's what would happen. He would show up. He would get pissed off.
He would toss a truck up into the second floor of the house.
Yeah, and he's like, he's screaming at her because he's pissed, And I loved it because I was like, dude, that's how it should go,
And that's why it's my question still lingers, and probably for a lot of people, about what was your payoff plan for the Codex. So it's like that would be, and I think he would answer that. If you asked him today, he would answer, well, yeah, blah blah blah. But it's like, but yeah, I'm stopping myself because let's just wait.
Well, if I ever, like I said, if William ever took over the storyline, his plan, the plan for the Codex would have been Darkseid's plan for the Codex, and that would have been the entire reason why he took over Lex. Like he was screwing with Lex Luthor. different
great wrestler.
Larry Paul. But it would be like, because like I said, when we talked about the Great Darkness saga, when we had that as our common, that was one of the ways that I thought Darkseid would be able to finally get to the anti-life equation. And in the comics, he gets the Daxamites and transports their world to a yellow sun, and that's how he enslaves them. But if he had the Codex, he could literally create his own slave of Kryptonians to win that battle. And
my theory about like the payoff, which I think that's part of it. The Darkseid, he gets Superman under control with the anti-life equation, and he wants to harvest the Codex from him to create more Kryptonian soldiers. But then once Flash resets the timeline and they have the final battle, against Apocalypse, because I'd always thought when they set up the Codex, they were going for a little bit of an adaptation of World of New Krypton, which of course, that's where they bring, they free, the bottle of Kryptonians from, and they have Krypton in their orbit now with a whole bunch of Kryptonians. I thought, my theory is that the payoff would be something like they harvest the Codex from Superman in the final battle, and now on top of the Justice League, all the heroes, the armies of Earth going against Darkseid, they also have a legion of Kryptonians on their side.
Yeah,
exactly. Or like my other theory that we could have used was that he realizes that the Flash is disrupting his plans. He figures that out because he's on Apocalypse and he's outside of the multiverse, so he can see that how these things have been being disrupted. So he finds out how Flash is doing that, and he basically uses the Flash to go back to before Krypton blows up and does the same thing he did in the Great Darkness saga, which is transport either that world, which he had the power to do. And
it's not in Cal anymore. It's in Kara.
Yeah. Well, and of course, you've always seen that as like your kind of the gateway to do to bring Legion of Superheroes into play, because William has always wanted to see Legion of Superheroes integrated into.
if I leave this planet without seeing a great either theatrical or Max show of Legion of Superheroes, that's a tragedy, man. It's a tragedy. I'm not. Don't type in it. Don't type. I'll get to anything, but don't be typing CW.
Yeah, I agree. Spider-Man, it's like it's kind of a representation of like Kandor's, like, you know, Brainiac bottles up the city of Kandor and all the inhabitants. It's like, yeah, that's kind of like Zach's sort of spin on it.
I think he was reading. I don't know because I don't know him, but I think he read Great Darkness Saga. I really do, because like I said, what that codex could lead to, the revitalization of an entire civilization like that, but as slaves, because Darkseid's involvement in this storyline is that's your common thing right there. You have a race of nearly superhuman people that can be enslaved, that can be taken over, and I think that's why he was going for it. And once Luthor found it, and I think he was inside Luthor's head. Once he found it, that was the main thing, because remember, when that ship activated, it probably alerted Darkseid in them as well.
Yeah.
You know, because so it would have been cool to see. But you know what? Hey, it's not over yet. We're not done yet. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or in every couple of years, but I think that cooler heads will eventually rebel, and we'll get some kind of resolution to it all. That's all I ever wanted. I don't need 10, 15 other movies. I never needed that. All I wanted is to finish what you started, so I have enough faith to get with you on this new thing, man. You know, I like I said, I just don't trust the brand right now. And it's not about any particular individual. It's about, I spent a long time getting emotionally invested in these things, and I just have better things to do if you're not going to be around. You know, if you're going to disappear, if something gets bought out or a new CEO happens and he decides that he wants his own coach in there, guess what? I just invested 2 or 3 years into your David Cornsweet universe, and now I'm going to get somebody else. I'm just not. I just don't feel like running that marathon.
But that's the thing too, though. It's like, and I've said it before. It's like, you know, for people that are out here saying that, like, oh, you know, he won't make it. James Gunn won't make it past Superman Legacy. Superman Legacy will bomb. It'll flop. He's gonna get fired. That's, I mean, looking at it as a whole, like, that's kind of the last thing you want, because if they get rid of Gunn and Saffron, then they're gonna bring in somebody else, right? Yeah, and that person is not going to be like, oh, cool, now that I'm here, let's bring back Zack Snyder. No, that person's going to say, no, I am going to create a DC universe, and this will be my legacy of DC universe.
And that person's going to fail, because at that point, you've exhausted the patience and the will of not us geeks, but the common man. And the problem with the way this works now is there's a very good possibility, no matter how good Superman Legacy is, that it could lose them money. And if they are reactionary, which they shouldn't be, then, you know, because the people who front this money, they ain't geeks. They're not fanboys like us.
No, they're not.
They want their hubcaps on their golf carts, that platinum to be shining. And if their dividends and their stocks is going down, they put pressure on things that we as fans cannot relate to. So there's no guarantee that David Zaslav is not going to get fed up or something's going to happen. He retires or does whatever. And that's the linchpin to James Gunn. There's no guarantee that if that happens, that the next guy is going to be like, you know what, now it's my time. I want to get my James Gunn in there type of thing. And that's because that's the only history we have. I'm not wishing for that to happen, but there's evidence that that's happened. And it's making me sit on the bench next to the pool instead of jumping in and then, you know, the deep end. I just don't trust it.
And that's why I never understood the argument that, you know, live action only, no graphic novel, no animation, yada yada yada. It's like, dude, if Zach released a story in a graphic novel form or in animation and it blew up, then it's only going to create more buzz of like, hey, why don't we make this into a live action?
Exactly. Give me sock puppets. I'll take sock puppets. Yeah. Give me the ending.
But people keep saying like, oh, no, live action only. It started as live action. It's got to end as live action. It's kind of like, no, you're not seeing the bigger picture here. Just by getting that story out there and gaining that interest and buzz for his stories, then that will only help get this made in live action. But people don't see it that way. They just think, no.
Yeah, it's like it'd be like taking a scenic route to it. It's kind of the way to put it.
And here's the thing: the studio, whatever studio was ever going to make a decision, cannot hear those people. I told people that, you know, whenever somebody's making a decision, they always want to point to that percentile that is loud, vocal, does these certain things. And there's another other end, the move on crowd that you already know how I feel about them, but they have to be ignored. Your money is in the middle. Your money is in the middle.
It is, but I mean, look, if Warner Brothers was then sold to Universal, that's another talking point, right?
That's the kind of the thing around there.
If anything like that were to happen, or James Gunn and Saffron are fired and somebody else comes in, if another regime change takes place within the next few years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you can kiss the fucking Ayer cut goodbye. That shit's never gonna happen if another regime change takes place. It's not gonna happen.
Here's a hot take, and I know it's gonna piss some Ayer cut.
I know what your take is gonna be.
It's not going to happen anyway. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the Ayer cut happens, and this is just me.
Other than as part of resolving the story.
Exactly,
basically.
Because the entire reason that you bought in those main characters was to get to a certain point. If you're not going to get to a certain point, then to me, there's no business reason to release the Ayer cut. Just out of curiosity, but curiosity isn't free. Now, here's the thing about if Gunn and Safran, if that doesn't come together, that does fail, I think the next step for DC, whoever bought them or whoever comes in or whatever, is just going to be to license stuff out. They're just going to start saying, we're going to be the executive producers. We own the IP, but you want to do something? Here, you do it. You take the risk. You spend the money. You get the thing going, and that's what's going to happen. So we'll still have DC content, but it'll be fragmented, and it'll be, it'll be handled by people who are wholly invested in it. And that's what the problem with right now is, that you never had anybody wholly invested in it until now. You just now got the studio going, but you're gonna have to take some gut punches. I think my bet is that Superman Legacy will lose some money. I think it will get them critical acclaim, and like I said with Brad and everything, Zaslav has to have had the right conversation with the people in charge. And it's not just him. There's a president, there's a chairman of the board, there's stockholders, there's a whole bunch of people that he basically has to answer to. And when he made this pitch, about this is what we're going to do, in order for it to be successful, he had to have the honest conversation that we're going to get kicked in the nuts for probably a good year and a half to 2 years. And we're going to release this great movie. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to take some time to get to these numbers that you guys associate when you probably think of comic book movies. But here's our path, and here's what we're going to do, and here's where we need to be in benchmarks. And stick to it. Stick to it. And so when Superman Legacy comes out, maybe it doesn't do that well, but it's a good movie, and it's a building block. Then you say, okay, now we move on to this next part. And you make the adjustments where you need to make them. If he didn't have that, if he had a conversation where he said, you know what, we got James Gunn. Remember the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy? That's all I know him from. Guess what? He's gonna make a whole bunch of money for us, and we're gonna add him in, and we're gonna make $1 billion. If he had that kind of conversation to sell that to the stockholders and the people who merged their shares with AT&T and took all that risk and all that liability and all that debt, if he had that kind of conversation, he's in trouble. He's in trouble. Because there's a very good chance that no matter how good this movie is, it is going to take time to get traction. And it's that way whenever you create and whenever you take a first step with these big 80-year-old icons, everybody has to clutch their diapers and put on their grown man pants and let go of the previous version of that character. It was the same way with Reeves, same way with Batman, the Batman trilogy. You had a lot of people who clutched the Batman trilogy like pearls that took them time to open their minds up to the possibility of another Batman. And it's not that it won't happen, but it takes time. Does Zaslav shareholders in the geriatric yacht people are they going to give everybody that much time? And I don't know if that's the case. Those are elements that have not changed. Money's still green, people are still greedy, and they want to get even richer faster. So I have to, in order for me to not Blue Beetle these movies, first off, I have to see them go through a cycle of this is going to be around a while. I need to see the first round of Gods and Monsters happen, and then I need to see them move on to the next round, which is something we did not get with the DCEU. Once I see that, I'll know that the right conversations has been had, and this is something I can sink my teeth in. I'm just not, like I said, I always say, I ran the marathon. I did everything you wanted me to, and I got to the finish line. And not only was there not a finish line there, you had another guy, a different guy with the starter pistol saying, I know you just ran this marathon for nothing, but guess what? I got another marathon for you to run. And I'm just like, you know what, dude, I wish you all the luck in the world, but I'm going to sit here in the stands and, you know, I'll get in when it's safe. But right now it's just
on that note, I think Andre mentioned he has to take off in a second here.
All right, man. Oh, I'm sorry. I totally.
No, it's fine.
I'm bad with the chat. I'm bad with the private chat. All right, man. Thank you for coming by, dude. Thank you for making time. Of course,
yeah. No, I got to work tomorrow morning, so I got to get to bed. But yeah, dude, thanks for having me on here.
No, anytime.
It was fun talking with both you guys, and check out my channel if you guys haven't done so yet. I'll leave the link right here if you'll allow me to.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and put it right in the
by all means.
Let me see.
Yeah, 4 nerds, and like I said, you're the Brad. We have the honorary 5th nerd up there, so you know.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. I'm gonna go to bed. Check out Rebel Moon. I'll be dropping a video for that pretty soon. I don't know. I just filmed I recorded my the Marvels video, and now the audio's fucked. I might end up using it anyway. I don't know. I'm too tired to do it now, but maybe I'll do it in the morning. Who knows?
Well, probably Sunday. I can already tell. We're gonna once we see this trailer on Sunday, we're gonna probably do the same thing that we did with the teaser trailer. So we'll probably be up all night tonight. So, that's the conversation I want to have, though. I want to have a fun conversation about the wonder and explorer. I'm tired of fighting, damn it. So, all right, thanks, Andre. We'll see you around, dude.
All right, see you guys later.
All right. That was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, well, and to actually to go to Daniel's point here that I brought up a few minutes ago. Actually, that was a theory I was going by for a long time pre JL-17 was that the Codex was actually going to be that the energy of the Codex was going to revive Superman somehow, and so again, the fact that the Codex has not been other than the Flash, which is an alternate timeline anyway. It's like it has not been referenced at all post Man of Steel. So that's like that'd be the question DC related I would ask Zach at this point. And I am thoroughly convinced after full circle that he would say something like, well, I mean, there were talks about this or that, but I'm gonna stop short because I don't want to reveal anything because let's wait and see on that.
Oh wow, I was really behind. I was nowhere near being on time on the chat. Holy shit. This is why I have you here. I'm scrolling through right now. I'm seeing people that are like, oh, sorry. And like I said, guys, I'm not an asshole when it comes to the chat, but once I get focused on the conversation, I am not a multitasker. I am not to me, multitasking means I'm doing one thing really good and a whole bunch of other things really bad.
Well, actually, Spider-Man had one he wanted me to pull up here. Wayne, the scout ship was Zod's elixir in Man of Steel. Doomsday was born, and Lex Luthor became a 12th level intellect. The scout ship. Superman was reborn. Cyborg saw the future in the scout ship.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just all connected. Just so much you could do with it. All I hope is we get a chance to resolve it. I said, but this is not going to ruin Rebel Moon for me. But Rebel Moon is not. This is not a replacement for that. I'm still aggravated that I invested time in a story I liked, and the very least you could do is dude, Lois and Superman and Lois is a low budget version of all this, or lower, but and they're going to get an ending.
Yeah,
they're going to get a resolution. You are not going to walk away. You may be not happy that it's not going to get like 8 or 9 years, but you are going to look at that, and everybody's working on that and be like, "This is the way we wanted to end it because we had time to do it right." That's all I want when it comes to this. But in the interim, I'm not going to be like shutting down everything else. I'm just burnt out. I'm not burnt out of superhero movies. I'm burnt out of that type of investment that I put in. The type of investment I put into superhero movies for most of my life is not, has not been fulfilled this last time around. And I don't have who has another 5, 6, 7 years to invest in something when there's a possibility that it can end up that way. I'm just not ready to take that chance yet. It's still new, and we still don't know anything about this new thing. We know we got names on the paper, and we got a slate. Now, I reserve the right to get a little bit more excited as we get closer, as we get a trailer, as I get a premise, and as it starts to flesh it out, maybe. But right now, I've had 8 to 9 years of just that bad taste in my mouth. It's going to take probably more than a couple of years for me to get in. But I'm open. I'm open to being blown away. I'm open to seeing. That's it. Resolve. I'm open to James. I think James Gunn is a brilliant storyteller. I know a lot of people think he's limited. I don't think you've seen the full scale of James Gunn if you think he is, but that's an opinion. I think he is the right guy to do this. I just think the circumstances were just unfortunate. And I think the circumstances with the whole situation, not just him, Zaslav's decision making, the strike, all these things were a perfect storm. Some of them were self-inflicted, some of them weren't. But you could have self-inflicted stuff like that happen when you have the benefit of the doubt. You know, when you're rolling, people will cut you some slack. But when you're not rolling and then you compound things, people are going to be standoffish. But all that could change with the good trailer, with the good story. You know, I use you and now you give me Brainiac. That's another thing. You tell me Brainiac's a villain for this next movie, I'm starting to move a little bit closer to you. You know, if I see, you know, all the right signals, you know, as we get closer to this, maybe right now on November 11th, 2023. I saying I don't care is harsh. I just don't have what's the term I'm looking for. It's just not in the realm of concern that it once was yet. And I hate being because I like having fun.
Comic book store owners saying that.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, and I've had that issue with comic books I bought and collected. You know, when like I said, and this was a tough thing for me to go through Rebirth and Flashpoint and all that, because we had invested, you know, I'd invested a lot of time reading those stories, pushing those stories, getting brand new collectors to say, here, buy this, and nothing will screw up comic book sales than continuity being disjointed. That's one of the reasons why if you don't have a bat on it, your ass might not sell it. You know, if you don't put a bat on that cover for DC, there's a good chance that it's going to sit there. You know, unless it's Sandman or something like that. But even then, and that's because they've blown up the continuity to the point where only certain characters can really last like that. And you're going to tell somebody who's been buying Green Lantern and buying this and buying that for 10 years, we're going to blow this up and here's your new continuity. Even though the comics are still there, it's just your emotional investment in that collection is affected by those things. And I don't think they understand that when they do these things. So,
okay, we got this one gentleman in the comments who I have a feeling might be someone I'm familiar with on Twitter and who is trolling the hell out of us. Yeah, listen, well, and he's got a few other. Listen, dude, if you're in here to just shit on people's Friday night, just go elsewhere, okay?
Stick to comics. I'll feel better. I feel fine now. Expressing an opinion doesn't mean I feel bad. And stick to comics. Listen, I've been doing what I've been doing for quite a while. I'm good at it.
Is this Static Path? Is that Static Path idiot from Twitter? Because if it is, dude, just get out of here. Okay.
I'm not even going to ban anything. Dude, if you want to have a conversation, let's have a conversation. But no, I don't know what this comment means. Maybe it's I'm taking it out of comment.
He's got a few. He's got a few in here that are just, you know, it's like he's trying to ruffle people's feathers.
Let's see. Superman turns into evil man every woman.
I mean, are you being? If you're being ironic, I apologize. If you're just like pulling a little bit of fourth action here.
I think the benefit of the doubt, Zeno, because I'm not really I know of you, but I'm not familiar. We may be taking your comics out of context, but to be honest with you, I'm not going to take anything personally here. We're here to have fun. We're here to have a conversation. So I'm not the guy who times people out and bans people or does anything like that. So if you got a question, if you got something to say, you know, complete it and we'll answer it. But otherwise, I'm just going to move on. So, all right. But on that note, wow. We started late and we went late, but I was glad to have Nicotina on here. That was fun. I'm going to apologize to everybody else in the chat. I'm seeing stuff in here. Like I said, this is one of the reasons why we got Brad on, because how you doing, Jalen? This is like 202. This is like one of the newer ones I was getting. I see Jarbo. Jarbo wanted to come on. I didn't see that. Okay. I would have gladly had him on, but hey, if you're Jarbo, if you're watching, next time we do one of these, if you're up, I didn't even know you were, frequented my show that much, but hey, that's cool. Like I said, I think we had a good fun conversation. Let's see. William owns the weekend, so maybe an earlier part of Sunday. Can anyone just stream from the start? What's that?
I think he's talking about the Rebel Moon trailer.
We're gonna watch it.
We're gonna do what we did, but the first one. So
yeah,
we're all on top of this.
Yeah, I got graphics and everything for that, and I think I hope I see something really cool because what I saw, dude, we went bonkers over the trailer or the teaser.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a trailer, by the way.
That was
You
yeah,
realize what it was a long teaser.
Yeah, it was for both movies, but yeah, teaser. I use that term lightly on this one.
Oh, okay. You're talking to the chat. Okay, got you. All right, like I said, I'm just going through the things and seeing them. So I didn't want to make sure, like I said, I'm all out of order. So
if you're just pulling our chain there, then I apologize. But like some of what you were saying, it reminded me of this one jackass I've seen on Twitter who just loves to troll people. So apologies, dude.
I feel racially profiled. What? I didn't know.
All right.
No. You know what? Listen, I'm always for a good debate, but like I said, I just don't want to have a meaningless conversation. I'm not saying anybody's giving me that, but all right. You got anything to get off your chest, Brad? You need to follow the way.
Pull that up.
All right, guys. Well, this was an unexpectedly good time. I was late, but we got to talk to some people. I
see the crowd's really growing in here lately.
Yeah, on a late Friday night, and a lot of you guys are on the East Coast. So hey, let me thank you guys that are in different time zones for sticking with me, and while I was that late, and sticking with us for the full conversation. Usually midnight expresses are really, really quickies. But just like today, I just jumped on the air to tell people that we weren't doing Samurai that time, and it turned into something. I will go wherever the conversation. I will whatever length the conversation it keeps going and keeps relevant, or until I drop from exhaustion or starvation, which I'm about to. But yeah. So everybody who joined us tonight, thank you. Thank you. We're going to roll out with like I said. Not too much time on it because I spoke on it during it because it was part of the topic. But once again, these are the times. These are the times of year. These are the times of day where those thoughts creep in. Keep an eye on yourself. If you see the signs, get help. You are not a nuclear reactor. You don't be Chernobyl. Fix yourself. The human mind is just like any machine. It has to be maintained. It has to be kept up. So you would fix your TV if it went out. You would fix your plumbing if it went out. So fix yourself if this happens. And for those of you who are doing okay, like I said, just take a look around. This is that time. That Thanksgiving coming up where someone who was there is not there. That Christmas coming up with a loved one who may have passed, or you were with someone at this time and you're not with them. These are the little things. And they may, for those of us that are doing okay, they may not sound as difficult. But for some people who went through it, and there's people who are coming back from combat, and I found during my counseling course that a lot when veterans, and happy Veterans Day to everybody. That's those that are still with us. The main reasons why a lot of them drop into the president because the camaraderie in the military is very tight, especially in deployment. When you come back from deployment, when you're in theater, you're with your brothers, you're with your sisters, you're all going through it. When you come back to America, when you come back to the States, you are talking a different language when you are talking to people who had not gone through it, not been deployed, even if they weren't the door kickers that took a lot of bullets, just being away for that long and having to transition back and being without that support network. Now, especially if you're an army or you're a reservist and you were only doing your weekend, you did a deployment, you went through all that, you come back and you don't have that, everybody goes their separate ways. That can be very depressing. I found that was a surprising number of people that took drastic steps was because they didn't have that camaraderie. So that's why it's even it's an added thing for me, because like I said, I know fellow soldiers and sailors and Marines that have taken their lives because the same situations that they could deal with when they had us all around them was different when they got back here. And only somebody who's been deployed or been in that situation would understand. And that's who you need to talk to. You need to talk to people who understand your situation. So if you're a veteran and you're going through issues and you're watching this show right now, dude, get you another person who is either currently in uniform or that has been in uniform. Trust me, they either know what you're going through or they're going to get you to somebody who can. I may not be able to pick your brain or fix your brain because I'm not qualified, but I guarantee you, especially if you're military, I guarantee you, I got a card in my pocket right now that I would read a number off, and that person would get up 2-3 o'clock in the morning to make sure that you make it through the day. So 988 is one of the tools, but as we get closer to Rebel Moon and all the whole awareness aspect of it, we're gonna come up with some other tools that we're gonna use, because like I said, you're probably tired of seeing 988, and I hope you are tired of seeing 988 to the point where you're so far away from ever needing it. So, all right, Brad, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, Vero, here and there on Facebook. You can find my writing on Kung Fu Kingdom and on Screen Rant. You can find me here on the Sci-Fi Center.
All right, guys, and you can find me just by Googling me. But you can find me if you just on YouTube at any time of the day. I apparently am living on there. So, all right, guys, have a great morning. I will see you at 4:00 Pacific time. This time we will be a go for Seven Samurai. And take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. And just listen, fighting is easy. Articulating a conversation and staying in one, that's the hard part. So let's do the hard thing, because to be honest with you, it makes me happy. I can't wait to dissect this trailer Sunday night. That makes me happy. Do things that make us happy. All right, guys. See y'all later.